Recording is on.
Welcome to the weekly DXdao call, and we alternate with resource management and community recap. And this week is a recap of the recent happenings. So we usually start out with Omen on the product stuff, but just because somebody needs to drop off, let's start off talking about the design proposal that was made by the firm Entre Casa. I think Zet and maybe Keenan, you guys could kind of give a summary of that and what's going on there.
Sure. So I linked the DAO Talk post in the chat here. And so yeah, me and Keenan has been talking to Entre Casa, and they came to the Monday meeting also, and the owner introduced himself. They have a pretty great background working with a lot of crypto companies for a really long time. They worked with one of our partners, API 3. They also creating the interface for their DAO. So they know a little bit about our world at least, and they know a lot about crypto. Their network is pretty big when it comes to actually being able to deliver graphics, like short video clips of explainers and stuff like that. So so I asked them to post this proposal, and it goes through one of the first steps for us getting external help, and that's actually creating our landing page and developing our branding from what we have today. So this is not a redesign per se, but they will actually take what we have and make something greater out of it, and from the branding create a landing page.
Yeah, I think we were going to 50-50 this. I think that really just hit every nail on the head here. One extra comment I could give, I guess, is I noticed a comment from Pulp Machina regarding landing pages for all of our products, where this proposal kind of just mentions our main homepage. And the idea of the partnership would be to start with it and to move from there to our other products and have them as a long-term kind of partner for any of those needs and keep our style kind of consistent.
Yeah. So we talked actually a lot with these guys, and I told them, like, I want a long-term partnership with this firm instead of just doing this one-off job. We want some kind of red thread in between our products, landing pages. I mean, it's really hard for them to do that. Maybe Omen doesn't want to look like DXdao or Swapper, right? So we can't really decide that from the landing pages. But I told them to explore that at least and have that in their thoughts when they do the branding for DXdao at least.
Yeah, it actually hadn't occurred to me till I read Pulp's comment that maybe each product should have its own landing page, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. So
the plan is that this firm will be the marketing producer of material. So anything like if they create our branding, we'll also ask for them to create templates for, let's say, when we have updates and stuff like that. So always have that in thought, that we need material, and all our designers are working with products. Having them create the templates and the style will make our job much easier. And that comes back to if they succeed with this proposal and delivers a product, a landing page and branding, they will most probably continuing on to our products, Swapper and Omen and Misa.
very cool. Would the idea be to have a unified brand kind of across products? Or
that's a discussion. I mean,
we don't really know, right? Yeah.
When they start working, they will not just shut us off and the work. They will probably need some kind of short meetings back and forward just to get started. Me and Geronimo most probably will be talking to them 2-3 times before they'll commit to the sketches or whatever they're gonna do. But in those meetings, we'll probably discuss like, hey, this is what we came up with. Do you guys want to connect these products in this way? And yeah, we have to decide, like, maybe the product doesn't need to be looking the same, but the landing pages could be connected somehow.
Right. Yeah, I've heard it, and ideas put forth in the past, like the idea of kind of making it like Google, where there's different apps that are kind of navigable from the same.
Geronimo, what do you think?
Yeah, like I think it doesn't hurt to actually get a proper landing page for the DXdao first. I agree with Pulp that each product will have its own landing page for the specific product itself. But this is like, I think once we actually have the DXdao landing page designed and spec'd out, like I'm not sure if we're at the stage where we're already thinking about like a Coinbase style branding decision. I think our products are very young and they're maturing, but we're not at the point where we're like, okay, this is it, this is the product, and then we're like, okay, now we need to just brand it into like the DXdao language. I'm not even sure if that is like the best path forward for the DXdao itself. Like, if there's a team who wants to have their own like language, why shouldn't they just do their own shit?
Yeah.
When you say a product, each product has like their own landing page. Do you mean like like if you go to uniswap.com or whatever .io, like you just get to like some page and then you have to like click to get to the app that you actually want to use, right? And Balancer and a few other products have that, even Tornado Cash or whatever. Like the landing page, because we have DXdao, I feel like that is the landing page, and then you get to the products you want to get to. Because if you go to Omen, but then you get to a page and then you have to like click to open the Omen app, like for me that's just an extra step, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think the DXdao is right now already complex enough to have like a deserved landing page itself. Like, DXdao is interconnected with all the products. This is like awesome. This is like a cyberpunk, and this is something we should like present. Like, DXdao is probably one of the only organizations where it's like a glass house. You can look into the blockchain and see what it is and the whole activity like live. So I think the DXdao deserves like a proper place about what it is. And I think the products, they're getting so complex that, yeah, we can add them as like we currently have as like, oh, okay, this is something the DXdao is doing. But once you click on it, you're actually going to the product gateway landing page where it's even more complex. So my point is, I don't think there is room for the products on the DXdao landing page. Like, there's room in like, okay, we do this, go there if you want to check out the products. But I think we should, like, the DXdao deserves its own place, and we should make sure it's like the best page, right? Like, I see it as Ethereum.org. Ethereum.org is like a community-driven thing where everyone's just adding stuff to it, and everyone loves the page and wants to maintain it. And this should be similar to how we work with the DXdao page. Like, there should be all the infos needed to get into like the childs, like the guilds.
I mean, we could potentially have 100 product under us in the end, right? Like 3 years from today.
Yeah, and like even more, like then you think like multiple chains even, right? Like the
Yeah.
DXdao will live on multiple chains. That is already complex enough.
I agree with you. We should, like, DXdao should be not like it shouldn't be like some kind of brand and then we have the products, right? It should be its own thing. It's the biggest product, if we say so, and then we could link to each product, and each product can have their landing page. I mean, if I wouldn't say it's an issue. Like if you go to omen.eth, we could link directly to the product, and then the landing page could be something else. If that's like a problem. If you check Uniswap has uniswap.org for the website, and then uniswap.exchange, or what is it? app.uniswap.org. So I think if you want to link and be informed about Uniswap, you can still go to the landing page. And I think especially for us, we're doing quite complex stuff. Like for Swapper, like, well, what's the difference between Swapper and Uniswap? And if you want to like send Medium posts every time or something like that, I don't think that's the way. It's better to just send a landing page where we explain it with graphics and text, and then they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, very cool effort, and a nice proposal. I think it makes a lot of sense that it's coming from kind of an outside firm as well. I mean, one, because I think the outside perspective is helpful for this sometimes, and also because the designers working at DXdao are plenty busy already, so it's good to have the additional.
I would say also, I'm not an expert on websites. Geronimo, I don't know how about you, but so it's like we have the money in the bank. We either get someone recruited, and that will take time and effort from our side, and I would say this is a good first step, and we could always do a new landing page, a new websites. But this is a low-hanging fruit. We can do it now, and yeah, we should do it.
I agree. Everyone is extremely busy. No one can focus on a completely new project. Like I would be interested, but I can't do it, primarily because I think only we ourselves can actually do the best job to represent ourselves. Not saying that like the team is not capable or something, but like we need them, and we need them now because our landing page needs to be replaced as soon as possible with like a decent page which represents us in a good way.
Definitely. Yep. Okay, great. Thanks. And I guess now we can move into the product recaps. Geronimo, do you want to talk about Omen?
Yeah, we released Omen version 1.2.3, primarily fixing the mobile non-Web3 browser issue, so people can actually share links and they are reachable even worst case scenario. We added Compound to the mainnet product. That's something I think we should consider as like as a test case for future integrations for other protocols like borrowing and lending protocols.
Do you want to explain a little bit what that means by adding, because it doesn't mean that you're actually doing borrowing or lending on through Omen interface, right?
Right. Like to make it simple, people like users can actually create markets with compound tokens. This is done completely seamless. So users actually picking DAI and then can just enable the feature to use the compound token to actually fund a market with interest-bearing tokens. So as soon as the market is created, the market, like the liquidity itself inside the market, is generating interest, and people who hold the outcome tokens are also like receiving those interests by just holding the outcome tokens.
Right. So basically, Omen will take and wrap your tokens, or like deposit them in Compound rather, for you, right, automatically, so that your collateral in a prediction market is actually earning interest while it's sitting there. So this sort of addresses, like I think what people refer to as the capital lockup problem for prediction markets, or like especially if you have a longer duration market, say like a year. It's kind of a shame to have your stable coins or whatever collateral sitting in the market, not generating interest, right?
Yeah, 100%. The main reason why I say it's like a test case for mainnet is because on mainnet, like everything is expensive, even without the compound integration. But the compound integration makes it even like crazy expensive. And that's why I think having like a partnership or like integration on XDAI with a native borrowing and lending protocol is something very interesting and something we should explore. And I think we are already in contact with a team which is behind HoneySwap. They're actually doing a lot of forks for XDAI, and one of them is like Celeste, which is Aragon Court fork. And this is something like there are a lot of similarity, like there are a lot of we have the same goals, and this is something we are currently exploring where exactly we can partner with. And Omen is like a very generic product, and like even right now I can already say they with the Aragon Court, like with Celeste, we can add a new curation source, so they could curate markets too. We can use Celeste as like a Claros alternative for arbitration, and with their like borrowing and lending protocol on XDAI, we could even like integrate them into our XDAI product.
Yeah, the community is one Hive, and they have a Discord if people are interested. And yeah, they've already launched HoneySwap. There's the Aragon Court fork that you mentioned, Celeste, and then what's the name of their compound fork? Is it? I think it was Agave.
Agave.
Yeah, Agave. I think it's like the.
You say Agave?
Compound fork, not an Ave fork.
It's an Ave fork.
It's an Ave fork. Okay.
Right,
that makes more sense.
Ultimate mind.
Yes. Okay. Good. Yeah. So, yeah, and then integrating that with Omen on XDAI can make a lot of sense, basically for the same reasons we just discussed. So that's really cool. I think they're a great community too. I encourage people to check out their Discord and make connections with them. Lots of opportunities for collaboration.
Right. To finalize, like what's in the new release. The last point is that we included the DXdao on XDAI as an arbitrator option for the XDAI product, and that's it from the new version. One like interesting thing I want to mention is that we're already like focusing on doing this tight integration with XDAI, which means user doesn't need to care about network switching. They just go to omen.eth. They keep their connection on mainnet, but once they deposit DAI through the normal interface, in the background they're actually like using XDAI, and this is done like via the Gnosis Safe proxy kit, which will live on XDAI. Like that's a something which is like the holy grail, I think, and something we can deliver really soon. And this, I'm really excited about that. And Hexel actually already, I think, created a market with this just signing via this XDAI tight integration. So we are like actually we are pretty far with that. Yeah, I'm really curious how this will look like.
So when you say tight integration, the definition of tight integration would be you basically interact with the DApp in the same way you would interact with the mainnet DApp, but it's actually using the XDAI chain underneath.
Right,
It's
right.
kind of
Like the way, yeah, the way people need to imagine it. Once someone deposits something into Omen, they are basically using XDAI, and then they just like sign transactions. They don't even need to pay something for the transactions. So that's
And do they still need to set up the XDAI RPC network in the? No, sorry. Do they set the network in MetaMask? No, it just works with your mainnet.
No, it just works.
Yeah.
Right. And
Very
like,
cool from a user
I think, yeah, seeing right now this alpha version with XDAI having this XDAI subdomain, I think our markets are not really accessible for everyone. And I think this XDAI tight integration will make sure that like literally everyone just goes to Omen and sees XDAI markets. So like I think that will, unlock the whole product, and I'm really excited about that. Yeah, there's some UI related changes we already like planning to get done to make sure that like this XDAI tight integration is like bulletproof, user friendly, and yeah, I'm excited.
So right now, to use the XDAI version of Omen, the URL is xdai.omen.eth, right? And the mainnet is still omen.eth. How would the tight integrate? So would the tight integration mean there's only one URL, or?
Exactly. Yeah, we will basically get rid of the subdomain already.
Yeah.
Primarily because the main website omen.eth will be able to show mainnet markets and XDAI markets. So the user can actually just switch like the blockchains on the front end if they want to. Like on default, I think we should even go and say like on default, it's just XDAI. But if they really want to, and there's like a huge exciting market, like a presidential election with like millions of liquidity on mainnet, they can just like, okay, let's switch on to mainnet. And then they just use Omen as right now on mainnet. Like there's no changes at all.
Very cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So the subdomain is sort of a temporary measure right now.
Yeah. It's basically like an early version for like to just install Omen on XDAI and like especially test out the Claros mainnet bridge. But like with the XDAI tight integration, I think there's no better way of doing it to scale a product on Ethereum right now. And I think, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
And there are examples of products already doing this. I think it was a Perpetual. What's the name of the product that is already doing
Perpetual.
it? Yeah,
Perpetual.
Perp.exchange.
Perp.fi.
The only issue that I see with that is the cost to like get started. And this is what happened with Augur, right? Like when Augur launched, you went there and like it cost at that time like $100 just to like get going. And so if you have if the only way to access Omen, which is mainly running on XDAI, is through this Gnosis safe tight integration, if for a first-time user the cost is like $300 to get going, that's a big obstacle. And right now you could just go to XDAI directly and then it's much cheaper to get going, right? So that's one drawback with like using an on mainnet Gnosis safe proxy kit or whatever to like get started, to like set up the tight integration, right?
Yeah, so Sky, that's actually an interesting point. Like, I think if users actually would connect to XDAI and they go to omen.eth, I think they could still use the Gnosis safe like signing feature. So hardcore, my point is hardcore XDAI users who are like doing stuff on XDAI all the time, they could still leverage this tight integration by just signing messages and interacting with Omen. The main, like the biggest issue, and I think everyone, like every project who's trying to stay on Ethereum mainnet and like scale on some other network will always be the bridge. Like the bridge is costly. And yeah, the higher the gas fees, the higher people pay like transaction bridging. Like it's just very costly to bridge to exile. Like another issue is that you need to claim your DAI which came from XDAI to mainnet. So on mainnet, you need to claim your DAI back, and that alone costs around $30. And like Sky, you made a great point. That's an issue. No one wants to pay $30 to get their money back, right? Like first, like out, that's an issue, and in too, they probably pay maybe half, best case, so $50 right now to get money into Omen on like on scalable XDAI. But I think there's no solution for that. Like that's the limitation of Ethereum 1.0.
Well, I mean, you could picture an Omen that's running on XDAI where there's like you sign in with a wallet with like an email and password, and you can buy XDAI with a debit card, and then you use the whole thing, and you never touched mainnet Ethereum, right?
So that is still possible. Like we could show on mainnet Omen, like omen.eth, once they try to deposit, we actually like could integrate an on-ramp service where the stuff is not coming from mainnet, but they just purchase XDAI via like service, and then they don't need to pay that. So funny enough, with credit card, it's cheaper to get into Omen, maybe.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, like this multi-chain world that we're starting to grapple with, the impacts on UX and also just onboarding and offboarding. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, just the on and offboarding. Of course, my immediate thought was thinking about XDAI for worker proposals because that's like a cost that is going to be the same thing there. I did notice that I guess to get onto XDAI, is that cheaper than getting off? Or because I put some money on XDAI a couple days ago, and I think with 107 GUI gas prices, I paid $4.50 to get onto XDAI, which seems like
that's awesome.
Manageable.
That's cheap. $4.
107 GUI, so I don't know.
It makes sense because the bridge is basically, and on the Ethereum side, you're just sending your tokens to a lockup contract. So I think in theory that should be pretty cheap from a gas. I haven't actually looked closely at what the gas cost is on that contract, but
the bridge is rather cheap. That's why I don't think the bridging like for worker proposals is a big deal compared to using Alchemy. The bridge is basically zero. Like bridging your money back and forth is not a big cost.
The $30 that Geronimo was cost, that was just an estimate, or is there some other cost for Omen on XDAI?
No, that was mainly it, like signaling the XDAI chain, please bridge stuff to mainnet back. That's like nothing. But then you go to mainnet and then like, hey, you need to claim your DAI. I think back in the days they actually did it for like everyone, but now it's like, okay, no one can pay for that. So everyone, like people need to claim their money. And sadly, I think it's not as cheap as moving stuff into the XDAI, like your $4 transaction.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at Etherscan, which I'm noticing now they give some example transactions for the gas costs, like your average ERC20 transfer on mainnet is $22 right now. So even if the bridge is, on that order of magnitude, like a transfer, you're still looking at $20-$30, and that's now, I mean, it could go up. So yeah, definitely something that will matter and to think about. So yeah, very cool stuff. Let's move on to Mesa and talk about what's going on there. I don't know, Martin, if you're around here. Hey, Martin, you're on mute now.
I'm here. Yeah,
okay,
I'm
cool.
back. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's me. So short, yeah. I have some notes. So today we had Bertie did he's designing, and he did show stuff in one of the channels, and we got feedback from Seth and Geronimo too. I think it was quite useful to have other eyes looking at this kind of stage we are right now. And this is from the design perspective. So I'm confident that Bertie finish his work until the end of February, I guess. And then, we started to go in the direction of Scrum. And for us as a team, I think it's a good way to work together because, we are a fresh team, and we need to get things running and to know each other. And Venki is helping us. So now today we are really be able to have the daily in 15 minutes, who is the goal, to have only 15 minutes for the daily sync for the team. The team itself is still Nico and Rui working on the smart contract side, and there's streamlining the code right now with the fork from Gnosis, and they also think in direction how to modularize the smart contracts to be more like an open platform and not only one sale algorithm. Then we also work on the infrastructure to have some more testing, that we can test the smart contracts better. And we try to set up some Docker images, which then we can better test things locally. We also have Adam now is working on the subgraph together with Nico, because we need the subgraph for the communication of what's going on and if a sale is happening. Then we have Lee, who is joined us. He's working on the front end still, and we also will have our first on Monday. We have our first Scrum review, and we have 1 hour as a review from this process. We are now starting. We will have weekly sprints at the start, because it's easier to have the cycles relatively short to get used to it in a way. And then we have 1 hour for the sprint review, and then we have 1 hour for the sprint goal. And Venki joined us, and he's really helping us to get the process running, and everyone is getting adjusted to work like this. And I really think we have good in this week. I think the team communication has really been advancing in a way, and I feel quite confident that we can reach that we can finalize the MVP in the end of March. If it's improving like this, then we will make it to the end of the March, I guess.
That's awesome. Very exciting. It's cool. Mesa, essentially the newest product team for DXdao, but it seems like your process has matured quite quickly, and it's cool to see things like that, like this daily meetings of the Scrum, and interesting to see the different teams kind of adapting their own processes in different ways. One of the things that I want to try to focus on myself is to help kind of bridge the team's processes and come up with some kind of a standard, minimal standard, I guess, processes for DXdao and different.
Venki also, I think he's in touch with Seth from the Swapper team, and I think he's maybe, because he has then an overview of the different teams, how they work, he can also help us to unify our processes, because greatly think that it helps for the team if they have like the same working style, then people can also switch from one team to another if there's a big load or important stuff to do. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Venki is Q1 DXdao MVP. Yeah, very cool to get the process, and also now QA stuff that Venki is working on, quality assurance. So, all right, thanks, Martin. Yeah,
in a way, we also think, yeah, we struggle also a little bit with GitHub at the moment, I guess, because GitHub, it's not really made for agile development. You know, you can have your boards, your how the Kanban boards, but in a way, a lot of things is missing. But we will stay with GitHub for the next few sprints for sure, but we are not sure if it's really a good thing to do. And Venk is also doing some research to find out if there's any, yeah, we can use different systems to connect each other to have like the best of both sides or different products to use for the processes. Yes.
Right. Yes. GitHub is a bit light on its project management tools. I guess one of the nice things is that since we were already on GitHub, all the projects are using GitHub. It's kind of a natural place to use the project management features. But I think there are better ones out there, or at least more.
Yeah,
evolved.
totally. The good thing is our GitHub that the entry for everyone, people joining us, it's very low, because everyone has like an account and it's easy to integrate people. And I think that's great.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's from
it's
the
easy.
business side.
Keeps things consolidated. Yeah, thank you for that update. Should we move to Swapper? Is that, I don't know, I know you had to drop, so I don't know if you're also a red dot right now, so not sure you can give the updates. Okay, he's out of reception. Maybe we'll I can try to do a little bit of an update for Swapper, and if anybody else wants to jump in, feel free. I think the development on the farming side is moving along quite nicely. Federico is now working on the UI after having done the smart contracts there. Same with the governance contracts, like the ERC20 Guild. Contracts have been audited. They've gone through a round of revisions by Augusto, and I think the next step is to kind of test those and maybe give them one final review before going live. And I know that the Swapper team, I think Tony and Federico have been working on the UI for the governance. And for Swapper, that means governance of the swap fee, right? So the liquidity providers for a given pair will be able to actually change the swap fee on Swapper, which is one of its distinguishing features. In addition to that, there's a couple of other folks that are taking on Swapper-related tasks. One is James working on the aggregation, and it actually seems like that's hit the ground running this week. We had a couple of meetings discussing how aggregation would look. Oh yeah, good point, Federico. XDAI deployment as well. So on the aggregation side, it's been on the roadmap for Swapper, and the idea is to do kind of a light aggregation. I almost think of it, I've been starting to call it switching more than aggregation, like the ability to trade through Uniswap or SushiSwap liquidity in the Swapper UI. Kind of the high-level goal for DXdao being here to attract people to Swapper for specific reasons around, certain pair liquidity or the farming, and then, make it attractive enough so that once people arrive at Swapper, they stay there to do their trading. The other kind of mode that I think Zet likes to mention is a lot of people will go to 1inch to just see where the best price is, and then go to that particular exchange, whether it's Uniswap or Balance or whatnot, to do the trade. And so you kind of think of this approach that Swapper is taking now kind of melds those two together. There's no additional fees to using SushiSwap or Uniswap through the Swapper UI the way that it's being implemented here. So yeah, we'll have more about that. It's kind of early stage development, and I know Zed is working through some of the designs, but but the aggregation stuff is also underway. And then, yeah, the last thing is, as Federico reminded me, that Swapper is actually now, like, the contracts are on XDAI. The DApp officially is not actually pointing to them yet, but there are Swapper contracts on XDAI, and that's being tested and worked on. I don't know, Federico, did you want to say anything about that?
Yeah. So, well, yeah, about the DApp, it's actually already it's already working on an XDAI. I think that on swapper.dev you can actually go and play around a bit, but that's pretty much everything. I think, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so a lot of exciting stuff in the works for Swapper. Anything else or any questions on Swapper? If not, I think we can move on to just recapping the BizDev call, which I missed part of. So, Nylon, if you're on, you can do that.
Yeah, so I think you were having some weather issues, I think. Yeah, so in the BizDev call, we mostly two main things. Ahmed from Biconomy came and kind of like talked about some of the things they're releasing. There's a group on Telegram with the Biconomy people and some of the DXdao people. If you want to join, ping me. I think and an integration already started for Biconomy for Omen. Correct me if I'm wrong, John, but it looks like it. Yeah, that was one thing. Another thing is the presentation from what's it called?
Inca Casa? No.
Enter Casa? Yeah.
Enter Casa, yeah.
Yeah, Enter Casa. Enter House, I guess. This shouldn't be that difficult. Which we discussed in the beginning of this call. I think this is something great. Then we had a marketing discussion, just like the general state of DXdao in relation to Enter Casa, and yeah, and we kind of went to discussion on NFTs that Sky missed, and yeah, maybe this is something to explore as well. NFTs are kind of exploding in general, and this is something we should consider as part of the marketing strategy, I guess. Yeah, that was mostly it.
Very cool. Shall we move? I know we had a couple of things we wanted to delve into a little bit on the governance side too. So Chris, maybe you could recap us so we could talk about that governance 2.0 proposal.
Yeah, sure. Just kind of quick. So talked about community rep boost for the month. So if you have any of the nominations, get them in. Discussion on the gas concerns with that, but we're working hopefully on ways to more cheaply do that. A lot of thoughts on treasury diversification and how the treasury is doing as it's approaching as ETH is gone up. So I think we've had about $800,000 of stables that have been converted, and that's of the $3 million goal from the treasury authorization proposal. So we're on about a little under like 500K a week, and so there's discussion of whether that's too fast, too slow, and then kind of turning over to what are for the next treasury authorization proposal, what are the things we want to include in it and the moves we want to take. There are also some thoughts on the transaction cost associated with converting. XDAI authorization proposal is up, so this would be potentially move all worker proposals to XDAI. I think that should alleviate some of the gas concerns, and that's why. But the conversation before about the bridge, that's a new cost, so we'll have to monitor how that affects things. And yeah, then just governance 2.0 that I wanted to go over for a bit, but any other things with the governance discussion to?
Yeah, and I would just mention too that we had a couple of mishaps with the test relayer proposals, but those are being worked on, and we're trying to be better about integration testing, and that the bonding curve pausing, I think, is actually enabled like through the UI. But one thing we're trying to do this week before that proposal gets made is just to do some integration testing, kind of taking that lesson from the relayers, just to be a little extra careful there. But that should be coming soon. So the bonding curve, that hasn't been forgotten and will be coming very soon.
Yeah, and then there's kind of, as it's formed, there's like Rinkeby. So the DAO, I think Nylon deployed a copy of the DAO on Rinkeby, which will be used for a lot of that testing. And then XDAI kind of serves as a more live battle or battle tested one. And so I think figuring out how we develop a process through those.
Exactly, yeah. And I think Augusto has actually already tested the bonding curve pause on Rico, but I need to follow up. I'm a little behind on a couple things. So, but yeah, I think we just need to make sure, a few of us, that looks good. And then I think, we'll give the okay to go ahead with the pause proposal.
Cool.
But yeah, do you want to talk about the governance 2.0?
Yeah, and I am going to probably get somewhat specific and just go through some of the text right now, just because this is important and I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So as a brief background, we've been talking about this for several months, but we've I think got a solution that we're inching towards here. So just a few things that we need to decide. So on the broad structure of the voting power and good governance, we're kind of in broad agreement. The last component that we're figuring out here is the migration process to a new system. And so this has two components. There's the 10,000 DXD allocation and then a rep inflation allocation. So basically giving rep to DXD holders and giving DXD to rep holders with, of course, a bunch of stipulations. So the stipulations I want to go through specifically on the 10,000 DXD allocation, because we've gotten a little specific here, and I actually even had some updates from before. And so I want to make sure everyone, this could potentially be an important incentive component for all workers and anyone who's participated in governance. So it's important that we account for everyone that we're trying to here. So there's two components to this. There's base distribution and proportional distribution. So base distribution is meant to be a catch-all for any and all rep holders. So this would mean anyone that is been dormant, anyone that has had some affiliate, some rep, they would be eligible for 3 DXD as long as they vote at least once before 6 months from this signal proposal's passage. So that means anyone that's had a rep, if you vote, you participate in governance, you are eligible for 3 DXD that is vested over 3 years so when governance 2.0 launches. And then just in case, so right now there's about 450 addresses for that rep holders. So we shouldn't run into any problems with this. But if for some reason we end up, there ends up being lots more rep distributed over the next 6 months, we do have a maximum here that a maximum 2,000 DXD will be allocated to the base distribution. And then separate is the proportional distribution. So this is like an either or thing. So here we want to be very specific. This would be rewards that are proportional to the percentage of rep that one has. And so this would be the percentage of rep times 10,000 DXD, and then that address would get it over 3 years vesting. And the ways to qualify that are really kind of two different ways. So one would be rep holders that have voted at least 3 times before the passage of the governance 2.0 signal proposal. So this is the qualification would be 3 times before this proposal passes. Or new rep holder addresses that submit a passing proposal on mainnet, XDAI, or any DXdao governance base. And then, as I said, these would be receive the DXD proportional to their rep percentage at the time of snapshots. And then rep holders can only claim either base distribution or proportional distribution, but not both. And so just some specifics on timing here. The DXD distribution will occur before rep inflation is allocated to DXD holders. And then that's because we're inflating rep to DXD holders, but the distribution or calculation will happen before that inflation occurs. And then we have a 6-month claim period here. So DXD must be proactively claimed within 6 months of the governance 2.0 DXD distribution. And so this is so that any unclaimed DXD would go back to the treasury. And then the vesting schedule, as I mentioned before, DXD will be vested for 3 years from when the governance 2.0 system is implemented. That's to ensure long-term agreement, and we have the ability here to potentially revoke some of that. And then the DXD governance usage, this allocated DXD may be used in the governance system. So it could be used in the voting power equation there. So just wanted to stop and pause here on the DXD distribution. So the two types of the base distribution and the proportional distribution. And this is really important for anyone that has rep, or like how we think about how rep will accrue over the coming months. So we want to make sure that all workers have rep and are getting rep are qualifying for the proportional distribution. And for all of them, they should qualify in one of these two. So either you voted 3 times before the passage, or you're a new proposal, your new rep holder addresses that submits a passing proposal, because anyone that has been a worker that has received rep has submitted a proposal that's passed. So questions, thoughts, and comments.
I have a small comment. I think that like in the new rep holder addresses, because we did a mapping to XDAI, then someone could have like an active address on mainnet and then a different active one on XDAI, because it's been mapped. So just to consider that, the mapping, and make sure that, yeah, there's like no duplicates over there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I almost wonder maybe that should be just mainnet, because otherwise I think we have a little bit of a problem trying to reconcile the potentially different chains, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, but we do have the mapping contract, so we can, like, before you do this, then you run it, you compare the addresses that have mapped.
but we also have to, since this is a percentage, like a percentage of total rep, like what is the total rep then? Like,
yeah.
I almost, and I think we'll probably figure this out eventually, but it seems a little ambiguous at this point in time. So I wonder if we should restrict this proposal to mainnet. And I mean, it could be that if somebody earns a lot of rep on XDAI, they can map that to, they can get it on mainnet somehow. But I don't know, just a thought.
I think that will be solved. Like I'm just working on that right now with Oren. I think that will be solved before, like, the proposal, like before governance 2.0 at least launches.
Yeah, and John, no matter like what, we're going to have to account for rep rewards on mainnet over the next 6 months. Like we have to solve that problem. And so
well, we definitely, yeah.
Well,
we definitely have to solve it, but the question is, does solving it impact like this proposal? Sorry, Pulp, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Okay, so just 2 things. One thing is, like, we even put at the bottom of this, and like Chris wrote it up, that any technical issues that we have with this, we have to account for, and we have to make it work within our technical limitations. So that's definitely, nothing has to be super final. But then the other thing is, we are going to have, once you remove all of the rep holders that, like, as far as the calculation is concerned, like once we remove all of the rep holders that just voted once that got, that are getting the DXD, the amount, it is going to be a weird proportionate thing where we look at, the balance of rep versus, the qualifying rep holders. So there's going to be a weird kind of calculation that we're gonna have to figure out regardless, because it's not going to be the full 400 and whatever rep holders, right? So even if we have to like map it, or we have to just figure out some sort of equation to incorporate the XDAI folks, I think it's going to be, it's going to be a bit different than what you're looking on your ETH address to say, oh, I got, I have 5% rep or something like that.
Yeah, I think the question for the other bases is there would be small rep awards that are either awarded through like the normal proposal process, right? So whenever you submit a proposal, right, there is like a very small rep award that occurs there, or any other like award that is trying to be specific to that base, whether that accounts for mainnet rep. And I think that's separate from what we want to focus on here, which is every contributor every month is earning 0.167% of mainnet rep, right? But that's not going to come through a contract every month. So we will have to, map that on. So I think we definitely want to maintain that. And we definitely want to maintain the ability to award mainnet rep. I just think the question is does all of the rep on bases account for the mainnet rep?
Imagine if like we install an Arbitrum base and there's like, maybe because it's a lot cheaper, we get a wild amount of activity and mint a ton of rep on Arbitrum, right? In theory, that would mean that like they could, I don't know, I think that could really mess this up, right? Like,
I don't see how it messes that up, because there's nothing, the only thing that matters in here that we're basically giving anointment is if a proposal passes on one of those chains, right?
Right, but
then
we don't know.
Is included,
but
right?
In theory, you could have thousands of proposals passing on Arbitrum or XDAI.
Right, but that would just mean they qualified. That doesn't mean that that the proportion of rep that they're due, right? Like there's the rep proportion.
The proportion is from the snapshot. Wait, can you go back to the text? Sorry.
Yeah, so the proportion itself is from mainnet, but you could qualify by voting on XDAI or whatever.
Right. So it's more of it's really more of a qualification component, because what we want is if a new worker comes in 2 months, like they need to qualify for this in some way, and we like that's what but they're probably going to do their proposal on XDAI or another base, so we need to qualify them. But in the end, like the proportion is still rep percentage. Maybe we could say mainnet rep percentage here.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so I understand and I support this idea that workers earning and other people doing valuable contributions over the next 6 months should participate, right? But I think in the way, if it's not clear, if all it says is just proposals, like you don't really know what's going to happen on these other bases in the interim, right? It could even be longer than 6 months, right? So you could end up in a situation where a lot of rep gets, and people could start gaming it too. Like, I don't know. I think we got to be a little bit careful there.
Yeah, we want to think like this is the whole, like this will be gamed in some way, right? And so like I think the most gameable part is this, right? Or like if you get rep, you somehow vote, you qualify for the base distribution. But we are limited, like each address is limited to 3 DXD, and there's like an overall 2001 that's limited. And like then the way that you would game this is you first would have to be one of these, right? And so this one, like you can't game because it won't be in the future, right? It'll basically be, have you voted 3 times, like since this proposal passes? And if not, then you like can't ever do that. Or you're a new rep holder address, and then you would be able to qualify for proportional. But that's just the qualification. That means you would be able to like that. Then you would actually have to earn a certain amount of rep at that new address to then like game the system. So it would be someone that passes a proposal and then somehow earns a lot of mainnet rep, and like
so it's only based on mainnet rep in the end.
Right. I think that's the only I think we want to be able to like track and award mainnet rep on other chains, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what's on mainnet. So like maybe in those mapping proposals that Nylon's talking about, we will reference different proposals that are on XDAI for people's worker proposals, right? They said, okay, these worker proposals had 0.1667% rep, and then we just bundle those all together and eventually put them on mainnet. But at the end of the day, like the list, the proportion is going to be, the ledger is going to be the mainnet rep one.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I think what we want to do is we want to allow for people to earn like worker rep, et cetera, on XDAI and have that count towards it. But we also don't want to tie our hands in terms of minting rep on other potential bases for other potential reasons, right? Like maybe we want to be really aggressive about rep minting on Arbitrum for all kinds of random activity, right? And it may not really be something that we'd want to fit into this TXT distribution, right? Like the spirit wouldn't be